Lake County High School sports broadcasts on WRLR 98.3 FM, helping home buyers, sellers, and others with real estate transactions. O'Keefe, Lewis, and Bruno PC can be reached 847-675-4790.
I can take care of myself. I can make a peanut butter sandwich. I can brush my teeth and I can give myself a bath. I can walk home alone from school. I can pick dinner from the trash behind the deli. I can watch the baby for the whole weekend. I can keep a baseball bat by my bed just in case there's trouble. Don't worry about me. I can take care of myself.
If you're in jail, who'll be there to take care of your family? Something to think about before committing a gun crime. Gun crimes hit home. This message brought to you by Project Safe Neighborhoods and the Ad Council.
You're listening to 98.3 FM, WRLR LP, Round Lake, Illinois.
Hello, everybody. It's Pat and Norm sitting in today. It's 2 to 4 p.m.
Hey, everybody.
Hi. Welcome to WRLR 98.3 FM, the voice of Lake County. We are here. You are listening and tune in to the first episode of the Golden Sports Show. Here live at, like I said, 98.3 FM. Of course, you can go ahead and we will have call-ins throughout the show today. We are talking NHL to start off today. At the bottom of the hour, we have Kent Sterling of CBS Sports Radio from Indianapolis calling in to talk a little bit of NBA. And then we have our round out the show today. We have 3 o'clock, some NFL, and 3:30 MLB rumors. Of course, the trades that will be happening during the winter meetings. What do you think?
Of all over the place. And not to mention the fact, this coming Saturday, we have high school football action, 7A in the state of Illinois. Lake Zurich is hosting Willowbrook, and we'll talk all about that game as well, because I'm ready for that. Rusty Silber and the boys will be there, Pat. So
that's going to be a lot of fun, especially if you're not watching Rusty's show. It's Rusty's show 8 to 10 a.m. every Saturday with Don and Mike. That's going to be a great show to listen to, obviously, afterwards. But you do have what you said. They have the game coming up this week where they're going to be calling the game, correct?
Correct. Game time 1 o'clock, 12:30 Saturday morning. Afternoon, kind of, on WRLR. Voice of Lake County is going to have Willowbrook at the Lake Zurich Bears. Pat, welcome. This is Pat Voss, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello.
He's joining 98.3 for the very first time, your very first show.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun.
Background.
A little background. Okay, so I've worked in radio in one capacity or another for about the last 15 years. I am 31 years old. I am just finally getting back into full-time radio here. I love that we're having a show together. I'm glad that we were paired up, two sports-minded people. I'm very, very glad they paired us up. And we'll see how it works. I mean, obviously, you guys let us know if you're on social media. If you're on also the 98.3 FM WRLR website, you can listen right now, or on the TuneIn app. If you're not from the area, you can go to 98.3 WRLR right now and listen.
And do you have somewhere that people will have to go to talk to us? Because we'll put them right on if they want to come and call or whatever.
Yeah, if they want to call in right now, actually do have the hotline number. The hotline number is 630-487-7734. That's 630-487-7734. That is the call-in line for you guys. And that's what Kent will actually be using later on today in about a half hour as we bring in Kent Sterling from CBS Sports Radio.
Well, welcome, Pat Voss. This is Norm Marion. We are WRLR. This is the Golden Sports Show. Where are we going, Pat?
We're going to the NHL.
Cool.
We have to go to the NHL. We have to. I mean, we have a team like the Hawks. I would say if we're talking local to start, if anything, you know what? You know what I want to do? I'm going to take everybody to college hockey.
All right, let's go college.
So for anybody that knows me around the area, or those of you that don't, I am the PA announcer for NIU's hockey teams. That is D1 and D3, their club teams. So I have been watching D1 NIU all season, and you're from NIU, yeah?
NIU, Northern Illinois University. Let's make sure everybody knows exactly who we're talking about.
That's
because
correct.
I don't want them to say Northern Iowa. I don't want them to say that No Instinct, nothing, whatever. I want them to say NIU Huskies, go! And I love hockey there. I love football there and everything else. So here we go.
Oh, no, and I appreciate the correction there. I mean, yes, anybody that doesn't know, it's Northern Illinois University, the Huskies, D1 and D3 teams. They are club teams. They are not like NCAA level teams yet, but they are club. They are trying their best to move up to NCAA level.
And where do they play, Pat?
They play in West Dundee. They play at Camlin Ice Sports in West Dundee. Used to be the Leafs Ice Arena out there.
And what's the schedule like? Are there games on all the time right now? Or what?
No, the games unfortunately are every just weekend. Like this weekend, I'll be announcing the D3 teams Friday and Saturday. So Friday night 7:50 start for D3 in West Dundee, and then it's a 4:50 in the afternoon start on Saturday.
A lot of people don't know about club hockey.
No,
we know about like the teenagers getting the look at, and the 17 and 18-year-olds going and doing the state level, and then, hey, let's go to Canada and we'll play some more.
Right, that's exactly right. And most of the people that play club hockey don't necessarily make it to the AHL, NHL level right away. They do go elsewhere overseas later, somewhere, though. Or to Canada, yeah.
So what's the age group we're talking about?
We're talking anywhere from, because it is NIU and there are students that still attend there, we're talking anywhere from 18 to, at the max in D1, 25 years old.
There you go.
There are captains out there that are 25, and I hear them chirping in the box, by the way. Why are you still playing hockey at 25 for other teams?
For NIU or for whatever. Where are you? You're not on the Wolves. You're not on the Ice Hogs. And that's a whole other level. We'll get to that in just a few moments. But that's cool. So we can get to a game Saturdays, Sundays?
No, it's all Fridays and Saturdays. D1 and D3. If you look it up right now, you can go to NIU's or Northern Illinois University's hockey page. You go to Google them right now, and you can see the D1 and D3 schedules, all Friday and Saturday games.
And what's their records right now?
Oh boy! So okay, so this is where we really get into it.
Yeah.
D1 has won 2 games all year.
Ouch.
D3 has won a total of about 5, but they're still under 500.
Okay.
So I'm only the announcer for, of course, the home games in West Dundee.
Okay.
I would say that they're not doing well, but you do have NIU D1 is more exciting to watch. There's more collision. There's more penalties. There's more fights. It's more of what real fans of the NHL or college hockey would like to see, instead of it being what I think people have they have some kind of misunderstanding about. When they hear club team, they're automatically like, oh, not as talented.
Right.
But that's not the way it goes.
I don't think so either.
I will say the reffing, and I'm going to call it out right now. I don't care if they don't like me for it and they're going to talk to me on Friday for it. I will call out the reffing right now. The referee job in club hockey for NIU is absolutely horrific. They have so many 10-minute penalties, I couldn't count them. I lost count. So I sit next to a scorekeeper.
Okay.
I am in charge of doing the PA announcing and the music that you hear in the arena. But the lady next to me does the scorekeeping.
Okay.
She had to go to 2 different sheets, 2 full sheets of penalties in 10 different games this year out of about 15 games they've played. That is absolutely ridiculous. That is a case of not letting the kids play. What do you think?
How slow does the game get then? Like, is there like a timeout every couple minutes then, or,
right.
or whatever? Because I was at the United Center Sunday.
Okay.
I'll go past that. Original 6, Maple Leafs Hawks, and of course the game seems like it's just flying or whatever. But then once they have like a break where they want to clean off the ice, it seems like forever, and it's only like 2.5, 3 minutes, but it seems like forever. So I'm wondering in the college play, if you're going to have like 5 or 6 penalties called in a 10-minute span, that's really going to stretch out the game, isn't it?
It does. So we have games that normally last about hockey games, if they are a smooth running hockey game, will normally last anywhere from about 2 hours and 15 minutes to about 2.5 hours. But then, of course, you have stretched out hockey games, like one of the NIU games that I've been to or announced went for 3.5 hours.
Holy smokes.
3.5 hours.
Is there a shootout?
There was no shootout, and that's the crazy part of it. There was no shootout. That was 3 periods of hockey.
Wow. Now, do they have a overtime play and then shootout too? Like
they do have overtime. They do have overtime. When it gets to playoff time, it'll go right to shootout.
Okay.
But for right now, it's OT and then shootout. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, that sounds kind of cool and everything. This is one level, obviously, of hockey play. We do have the AHL. We have obviously other hockey leagues around the area in the big city, and I'm sure you're familiar with some of those teams. Obviously, the Wolves and the Ice Hogs come right up to mind.
And speaking of the Ice Hogs, and we can move on, but speaking of the Ice Hogs, shout out to Mike Peck, Director of Hockey Operations over there. He is a great guy. He's a very, very good guy. He's been with the team for over 20 years. They didn't believe that he's like, some people would look at him and not believe that the team's been around for that long, but he has been with this team in one capacity or another for over 20 years.
I have an original Rockford Ice Hog jersey.
Really?
Okay, no number or whatever, but yeah, first season in, Norm was living in DeKalb. I was at Northern Illinois University's campus, but, I was out of school or whatever. But just had a lot of fun. And, of course, we would go up, maybe the Wednesday night special beverage night or maybe the Dallas cheerleaders might show up on a Sunday or whatever. But I had a lot of fun. So, of course, I got my pig, breaking off a hockey stick with his teeth. Sure. He's a roaring boar.
and things that people don't understand is when they go out to watch those teams, these guys are fighting just as. I'm not to say you don't, but a lot of our listeners don't understand that they fight very hard. When you're talking which we'll get into college football later, but when you're talking collegiate sports and you say, well, they're not getting paid to this point, so it's, what is the use? But at the same time, you also find people saying that these sports that are not professional level are more exciting than professionals
or college level. And let's be frank, we have certain college students who get their scholarships taken care of and they're able to live on campus and do all this stuff. And then we have the college student who's a club guy who might be paying his own way, might have a degree scholarship from a business, might be Mr. Brains, but he's getting them knocked out on the ice rink.
Yeah.
but we have all these different people. They're still playing as hard as anyone. When you're in a sport, obviously, you play to kill the other team. You're fighting as hard as you can. And regardless of people say levels or whatever, go out and see the game. Go out to West Dundee. Go out to the Rosemont Horizon when the Wolves are playing. Go up to Rockford if you want to travel. Real fun town, Rockford, every once in a while on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon. Have a good time. And then, of course, we always have the NHL Blackhawks.
And then you have the Blackhawks, which, what do we say, 6-7-1?
6-7 and I think it was 1. Yeah.
Yeah, 6-7-1 is
just a terrible start. Colleton is really kind of on a hot seat really early in the season already. Last year, Joel Quenneville, of course, winning 3 Stanley Cups. I think the winningest coach in hockey history, and did a great job in Colorado. Came to Chicago. We got 3 cups with this guy, and we let him go. And I'll be biased. I love Joel Quenneville. The Q got us there and kept us there. Some things weren't working out with some of the younger players, and then and they thought that, well, maybe Jeremy Colleton can talk to these guys, get these guys together. So he came from Rockford to Chicago, and he's taken over. And there's a real big discrepancy now, Pat. We have the guys dumping the puck in all the time, and I'm not a real big fan of dump and chase. And
it's what they live and die by most of the time.
For people who don't know hockey, that's when you're watching a game and you see the puck after they come across the center line. They throw it down to the net, and then they go chase it, and they try to pinch in the corners to get the puck and maybe kick it out front and get a shot on goal. Okay, so that's the dump and chase. The Hawks right now are probably doing that 70% of the time, according to this one article I said. And 7 out of 10 times, they don't have the puck. So if the other team, first of all, cuts it off before it gets to the corners or cuts it off at the blue line, they're on their way the other way. The defense for the Hawks are not ready. And the goalies are getting killed. Sunday night, 54 shots on goal to Robin Lechner. God, 54 shots on goal. I was like, man, this guy is going to die out here. He's going to give up a goal pretty soon. And boom, pretty soon it was going to go. And we'll talk about that in just a few moments. But that's how when you dump and chase, that's going to happen. The other theory of life, and some people are saying is, well, you got people like Kane. You got people like the Taves, DeBrogna, the Cat, the Brinket. You have Kim Dock. You have all these guys that can bring the puck over and make passes. Why not control the puck 50% of the time and then maybe make something happen instead of maybe having a guess at 70%. So there's a big conversation now at how the coaches worked.
Unfortunately, the one thing that I see there, the one error in reasoning as far as what we're doing defensively, this is what happens when you try to bring, and this is a lot of Chicago sports teams, when you try to bring people back that are basically athletic fossils. You're trying to bring them back just for nostalgia purposes,
right?
And it's not working out, and we're seeing it fail early. But unfortunately, the higher-ups for the Blackhawks are not going to care about that. They care about their money, their financial bottom line. They don't care about whether or not, because they're bringing relics back, that somehow we're not doing as well and we're 6-7-1 as a team. We're worried about how much money are we making compared to other teams. And, I mean, that's not even to mention the L.A. Kings are bottom of the barrel right now. And a few years ago, just 4 years ago, they were always in contention for a possible Stanley Cup.
They had a cup between 2010 and 2020. The Cubs had, the Hawks had 3. The Sharks had 2. Hawks actually could have had 4. A big, crazy bounce of a puck in overtime, and it just happened to get to someone's stick, and Crawford wasn't ready, and boom, just on one little squeezy play, the Hawks missed getting probably a Stanley Cup because Vancouver went on and lost to the Bruins. And I know the Hawks would never have lost to the Bruins in that particular Stanley Cup final.
No, I don't think so. And if that was 2014 that we're talking about,
yes,
then the year prior, they had just beaten the Bruins.
Correct.
So it's a rematch of a Stanley Cup final is not going to go.
And it would have been original 6. So that's where I was Sunday night, Pat. So I had Maple Leafs and Hawks, original 6. I'm like, the Leafs are flying high. They look huge. They have this guy named Muzzin. He's like 6'3", 225, sitting.
Jake Muzzin. He got him from the Kings.
Yeah, sitting right in front of the net. And Hutchinson, their backup goalie, was playing because both teams had played Saturday night. So they had some players that were on the docket, and they had the second string goalies in. But first 3 minutes of the game, Muzzin decks Doc going into the corner. So Jonathan Taves comes in and starts a fight, and it's nice to see the captain stick up for his teammates. But let's face it, the Hawks don't have anyone huge that fights anymore. I don't remember anyone really as a good enforcer since Jerry King Kong Korab. Sorry, I might be going back a little bit. But that's
right. I can go back to 2010. I mean, 2010 we had people. I believe it was 2010. We had people like Shaw and Bufflin hitting, and Seabrook in his prime.
And Seabrook in his prime.
Yeah.
So they would go
3.
So Taves goes in. He kind of knocks the guy off the seat. Taves gets 4 minutes. The other guy gets 2. I'm thinking, okay, here we go. The Leafs don't give him a power play. They're going to score right off the bat. Well, they didn't. In fact, the Hawks took a 4-1 lead at the end of 1, playing some great hockey. And the life of Kane just coming right back. Kane was sensational in the first period. He had 3 points right away. Boom, boom, boom. Hawks are up 4-1, and no one expected that because everyone expected the Leafs to come in and maybe dominate with their size and their speed.
Well, and that's the thing is, even though they go off to a surprising start 4-1, that's great. But unfortunately, on the back end is where we all get bitten. Whatever. But
the back end getting bit. I like that. That's kind of fun. But come third period, teams are going to be getting tired. Other teams are gaining their legs from the night before, and something's going to happen. So of course, I'm with my friend Randall, and I go, "Hey, Randall." So it's 4-1, but you know what? This game's not over. We got 20 minutes to go. If the Maple Leafs come out, make a great play, it's 4-2, and then the refs are going to call a penalty, and then the Hawks will be down a guy, and it'll be 4-3, and then who knows what's going to happen in the last 7 minutes of the game? He's like, "Yeah, right, Norm. Okay." So 3 minutes into the third period, Toronto scores. It's 4-2. 30 seconds later, the ref says, slashing by whoever, and the Hawks are down a man. They didn't score. So it was still 4-2, so I was like, okay, great. So they're moving along, and then there's another penalty. Boom. Toronto gets a goal on the power play. So now it's 4-3. Hawks score. Hawks make a great move to the center of the net, and I think it was Doc. Kim Doc, 18 years old, future of the Hawks. I can't wait. Gets the goal. It's 5-3, sitting pretty. Well then, okay, so now here's where the refs kind of say, well, we kind of even up the game.
And the walls come down.
7 minutes come to go. So penalty by the Hawks. okay, with 4 minutes left. So then Toronto, of course, is going to pull their goalie, so it's 6-on-4. Boom. Now we got 5-3. And then, of course, the guy comes out of the penalty box, but the Maple Leafs are going to keep the sixth guy on, so it's 6-5. Boom. It's 5-4. It's like, oh, my gosh. And then they were able to withstand the flurry at the end. But 94 shots in the whole game. Robin Lehner, 54 shots on goal. He gave up 4 goals, but, geez, he was getting pummeled. Unbelievable. And now they got to worry about tonight where they're going to play a Las Vegas team that is really, really good.
Well, and it's funny because after you mentioned that Toronto comes back and is making a late comeback, you have Mitch Marner, who is actually out for the next 4 weeks now. He is out due to injury, so he is the second leading. He's only 22 years old, this kid, but he couldn't have gone out, during the game. He couldn't have gone out a little earlier, but he had to go out afterwards. And so Mitch Marner for the Leafs is out for the next 4 weeks, it looks like. He is in 18 games this season. He has 18 points, second leading scorer in all the league.
Unbelievable. And Nylander, it was cool because Saturday night, the Leafs-Hawks, that means the Nylander brothers got to play against each other. And of course, the big 88 for Toronto just pulls in, gets 2 goals out of the first 3, and you're just worried. You're just worried that the puck's just coming at Robin all night long.
So what is your main worry for tonight? You have a game tonight between the Hawks and the Vegas Golden Knights. What is your main worry or concern for the Hawks tonight?
Well, I just really believe a lot of times, the Hawks and a lot of teams in the NHL do this stretch pass where they come out of their own end zone or back by the goalie net, and they try to throw the puck to half ice, and they get it to the red line. And a lot of times those passes either get intercepted or a defenseman from the Hawks is not still at the blue line where you can defend someone who just walks right in. That's been happening to the Hawks for the last 3 years, in my opinion. Corey Crawford, Lehner, whoever's been in goal, Ron Darling, even a couple years back, whatever. They're just waiting to get hit by shots without a defenseman there to cover, and that's my biggest worry. And then the other thing is if you're doing the pump and chase and dump it into the corner, you go to dump it in the corner, some guy intercepts it, and then they're off from the blue line to the red line, and they're already in your zone before you even have a chance to turn around on your skates.
So pace of play and defensive pressure,
without question, is the Hawks' biggest problem. Hawks are great offensively. They got great people that can control it. Strong, DeBrincat. You got Taves. You got Kane. You got Seabrook is in the back. You got Strome, the new guy. You got Doc. All these guys want to come up and play. Let them skate around. Let them make plays. There are some really awesome wheel plays done by the Hawks at the United Center Sunday night. It's just fascinating to watch. Hey, let them play. Boom, get a shot on goal. They had Hutchinson down 3-0 before he even knew it. And I was like, they're going to pull him. But Toronto did not because, of course, the starting goalie played Saturday night. So, he was kind of in for the long haul, but he was getting kind of frustrated, and he looked kind of bad.
Well, that's what happens when you have a guy that's under scrutiny now. You have a guy that's coaching the Hawks that doesn't have necessarily that kind of wherewithal to make certain things happen maybe right away when they need to with these young players. Let them play, like you said, give them a chance out there. And with that happening, I think that would maybe shift the overall morale of the team even in the locker room, from locker room to ice.
Wins make a difference. And if you win, you can talk a lot, you can be happy. Everybody's really happy when you get the W or the extra point after a shootout and stuff. Saturday night they lost in Pittsburgh. They went to the shootout. Yeah, sure, but you know what? They were up 3-1. You got sometime or other. You got to start winning these games, and I think you're losing them because you're losing the puck before you get to center ice. I really believe that. And just on a kind of fun note, Joe Quenneville now is the coach of the Florida Panthers.
Right.
Okay, so he's like in second place, I think, in his division. I think he's got like 18 points. The Hawks got like 12. And I'm not saying, okay, one guy's good, one guy's bad. I'm just saying that he's having a lot of fun with this young team that's really kind of hungry.
Look at the numbers, America.
He's got these guys that maybe were the Taves and Canes of 2009, he's got these guys in Florida now that are like, you know what? Let's go for it. And they might be a reckoning. Watch out, Tampa Bay, because they're going to be there.
And that's something I was thinking about was Tampa Bay. So for NHL, like the Stanley Cup predictions, for me personally, I know it's way early on, but for me personally, I would say I would like to see Tampa Bay, and I think maybe, I hate to say this, but St. Louis going back. Who do they have? Who's going to test them?
Well, you know, whenever you have someone like Tarasenko, as St. Louis does, there's just like fun and action on the ice. You know, the Hawks used to have Denny Savard, and he would skate around, and he would, you know, and he would have a lot of fun. Kane has done spinoramas, but not like Denny Savard has done in the past.
Right.
Tampa's just super fast. They are so quick, and they're big up front, and they will hit you as you're coming across the blue line. There's some times where I think the Hawks don't do that, and other teams like St. Louis, like Los Angeles, like Nashville, which has really grown up in the last couple of years, and then when you got a guy like Pecorino playing goal, you know, you have a chance to win almost every night. And it was very surprising to see Columbus come and shut out Tampa last year, because it is early this year. Don't you forget, Tampa is going to remember that. And they're going to remember that the Blue Jackets, what? Who? They came in and they swept us? What? No. So they're going to be hungry, and they're going to want more.
And I'll just say this real quickly, just touch on Tampa Bay Lightning. If you think they're fast, that's great. Just remember who beat them in 6 games in a Stanley Cup. Okay. All right. That's where I rest my case on that one.
Okay.
So what else do you have for us? Any closing thoughts for hockey?
Well, I really worry about the Hawks a lot. I see teams like Boston and Pittsburgh who have been able to use the salary cap, and I don't know how. The Penguins, obviously, you got to have great general management, you know, and being knowing who to pick and who to get as far as signing for multi-years and for how much money. The Hawks have been kind of saying, hey, Jonathan, will you give back some? Kaner, will you please give back some money so we can like maybe afford another player or whatever? And then, okay, then maybe we might get a guy like Strom, or we might get a guy who's coming in like Boquist or something, or a couple players like Carpenter from other teams. But until that salary cap can be managed better, there are other teams that can just do it very, very well.
Well, I think that the Hawks need to realize where they're at in the season. I think a few teams need to kind of take a look in the mirror a little bit and realize that even though it's early, it's probably not the best thing to think that we're going to make a late season push anywhere and really come out. Maybe we can learn a few things, and our strategy can change as far as letting the young kids play. That would be the main focus I would have if I could tell the coach anything. That's the main focus.
Well, we got a couple 18-year-olds. We got a 19-year-old. We got a 22-year-old. And then we go up to like 26 plus. So there is that big difference. But then again, the salary cap makes that big difference.
Absolutely.
So you have to worry about that as well.
Okay, so guys, you have been listening to Norm and Pat here, 98.3 FM, WRLR. We are your 2 hosts for today, every Wednesday, 2 to 4 p.m.
2 to 4.
And you are listening to the Golden Sports Show. We'll be back with Ken Sterling from CBS Sports Indianapolis. We're going to be talking some college and professional.
WRLR 98.3 FM.
Having trouble moving the ball to finish your divorce or paternity matter? Child support or maintenance payments causing trouble with your salary cap? Sue Kamen is an experienced family law attorney who can coach you through mediation or fire a pass into the end zone at trial. To make an appointment in Antioch, Huntley, or Lake Zurich with Susan E. Kamen and Associates, their number is 847-847-7354.
I can take care of myself. I can make a peanut butter sandwich. I can brush my teeth, and I can give myself a bath. I can walk home alone from school. I can pick dinner from the trash behind the deli. I can watch the baby for the whole weekend. I can keep a baseball bat by my bed just in case there's trouble. Don't worry about me. I can take care of myself.
If you're in jail, who'll be there to take care of your family? Something to think about before committing a gun crime. Gun crimes hit home. This message brought to you by Project Safe Neighborhoods and the Ad Council.
Cornicchione's New York-style pizzeria in Antioch at routes 83 and 173 is another proud sponsor of WRLR Sports. Cornicchione's pizza dough is made from scratch using a family recipe that originated in Brooklyn, New York. Their dough is proofed at least 24 hours. Cornicchione's menu includes pizzas, calzones, pasta, much more. They have dine-in, carry-out, and delivery. Their number is 224-308-1499.
You're listening to 98.3 FM, WRLR LP, Round Lake, Illinois.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's Pat and Norm here for WRLR 98.3 FM, the voice of Lake County. You're listening to the Golden Sports Show every single Wednesday from 2 to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time here. And if you're listening just not on the station, you can listen on the website, 98.3 FM, or the TuneIn app, 98.3 FM, WRLR, the voice of Lake County.
This is the beginning of a new relationship here. On the voice of Lake County, WRLR 98.3.
I'm not willing. Hi, Norm. I'm not willing to put a ring on it yet. Anyways,
okay.
Let's.
We can move right along.
So we're talking actually a little bit of college basketball and professional basketball here in just a second. But we're going to bring on CBS Sports anchor from Indianapolis. It's Kent Sterling. Kent, how are you?
Great. How you guys doing?
Good, Kent. Good to hear from you, buddy. I'm glad you were willing to come in for the show today and really talk some college and pro basketball with us.
My pleasure. Anytime I can visit Lake County, Illinois, even by phone, I'm more than happy to do it.
Appreciate it.
Hi, Ken. Good to meet you. My name's Norm, and it's nice to hear your voice. And we had a big upset just last night, 2 nights ago, right?
Wasn't that the greatest? That was
awesome.
Fantastic. You know, I was watching the Indiana game because that's where we are. And I'm a graduate of Indiana, and so I'm watching Indiana beat the hell out of North Alabama. And I keep following the score between Evansville and Kentucky, and finally I was like, you know what, I'm not watching Indiana anymore. I'm going to the SEC Network. I want to see the Purple Aces. If they can pull this upset, they get it done. And in front of the stunned crowd at Rupp Arena, and anytime a school from Indiana can go into Rupp or beat Kentucky, that is a really good night in the state of Indiana. And last night was terrific.
So for Duke, what was the main breakdown? What did you see as the main breakdown for that game? And then we'll move on to a few other, like painting picture for, I know it's early, but March Madness, obviously, but painting a picture for that. But what were Duke's breakdowns, Kent?
You know, the problems, nobody played very well, and it was exactly the kind of ugly game Evansville needed to be able to win that thing. Kentucky didn't defend as a team. They didn't score as a team, which is something you'd expect because that's a really young team. It's a very talented team. But right now, instead of a team playing together kind of as a fist, they're 5 disparate parts on the floor. And Evansville was just really well prepared to come in and understand the environment and kind of quiet the crowd. They got that done. And I think that it was more that Kentucky played terribly than it was that Evansville played great. But the result was the same. So I was absolutely thrilled by it.
Well, you know, there's, Ken, it's Norm again. There's so many different scholarships available out there and everybody. But you know what? With the broad base of people getting more and more scholarships to smaller schools, Evansville has a good team. They do have a background. They do have a history in playing some good basketball. And to go into a place like Rupp Arena, which no one is supposed to win at, right? Okay, so it was really kind of a good coached game. You know, beating the big guy and letting your team play and then running out the clock a little bit.
You know, you bring up a great point, and that's that schools like Evansville, schools in the Missouri Valley, we saw it with Loyola a couple of years ago going to the Final Four. If you have really good guards and you get off to a good start and you're kind of, it's not beaten into you that you can't compete with people, you believe that you can. And that's kind of what goes on in November and why you've got these upsets periodically. A couple of years ago, 2 years in a row, as a matter of fact, Fort Wayne beat Indiana. And that was one of the losses that sent Tom Crean packing, and now he's down at Georgia in part because of that upset. You get upsets in November because these kids, they haven't been habituated into believing that they can't play the game. And when you get to guard play, like guard play in the Valley and guard play in the SEC, unless you're talking about the very high-end, elite-level athletic kids, it's relatively the same. Even if you dip down to like D2, there are guards in D2 that could play in the Big Ten today. The guard play is really, really equal, but it's the bigs that really determine the difference. And with a team like Kentucky, they just don't fit too well together yet.
Well, once I get my guards together and when I get my brackets ready after the final session before the bracket is made, I see which guards are playing in the NCAA tournament, and that's where you got to go and look for your upsets, 11-5, 12-2, or whatever, because I think that's the guard play is obviously the biggest important thing when it comes tournament time.
Well, and something come tournament time, that I have noticed in past years when they started expanding the brackets, Kent and Norm, was that there were so many upsets happening. After the brackets are expanded, now you have these teams that never had a shot before. Now they have a shot, and these teams like North Carolina, Virginia, Duke, Kentucky, they're getting taken out in the first 2 rounds before you even reach a Sweet 16. So I like that sort of, but I'm wondering, is it bad overall for the basketball when you have the big teams losing out so early when if you have a busted bracket, Kent, what is my tell me what my motivation is as a casual fan with a busted bracket before a Sweet 16 to keep watching?
Well, was there anything better than a couple of years ago when Loyola went to the Final Four and her sister Jean was kind of deified as the default mascot kind of Loyola basketball and of that Jesuit university? Like, there's nothing better than that, watching those upsets. A couple of years ago, and this, in fact, it was 9 years ago in Indianapolis, that Final Four, you had Butler as a member of the Horizon League not only make the Final Four, but qualify for the championship game 2 straight years in 10 and then in 11. You need the upsets. You need those blue bloods, too. If you have a healthy mix, if you've got the one upset team that everybody kind of rallies around as a great underdog, and then you've got 3 blue bloods at the Final Four, to me, that's a perfect recipe for a great March.
Well, I'm still picking Butler almost every year in my bracket, and they're going to the 16 no matter what.
I think mostly teams like Virginia and North Carolina, we expect them to make the bracket, obviously. But as far as I kind of feel, and I'm not going to go off into college football very much, but I'm going to touch on that similarity between there are teams that are seen like the Alabamas and Georgias and Oklahomas right now and possibly Ohio State as of this year. But you have teams like that make this NCAA basketball bracket basically based on no real schedule and just a whole bunch of on their name.
Well, Ken, let me ask you this, too. Guard play is obviously essential, but once you get down to after the big 64 and the 32, those guards on those small teams are just as good as some of these guards that play at the major Big Five.
Oh, yeah, they absolutely are. And if you go down to watch, and there are these events in Chicago, they're up in Milwaukee, the EYBL or the Adidas Gauntlet, you go watch those guards play. And I don't think you can tell a whole lot of difference. If you and I went there and we decided, okay, here's a kid who's going to go to Duke, a kid who's 6'2", and here's a 6'2" kid who's going to go, let's say, to Loyola, it is very, very difficult to see the difference between those 2 kids just with your naked eye. The difference between kids at that level is staggeringly slim. And so that's why you've got the upsets in the month of March, and that's why you've got a conference like the Big East with the DePaul Blue Demons. DePaul goes to Iowa the other night and destroyed the Hawkeyes at Carver Hawkeye Arena. And that Big East, like DePaul's been the doormat of the Big East for a long time since they came into the Big East. That's a team that after watching them play at Iowa, you'd say that's a top 3 team in the Big East. And you can say that about almost anybody in the Big East. Everybody can play.
Ken, has the Blue Demons like made it to the top half of the Big East ever? Since they've been there?
No.
I don't think so.
I'm not sure they've finished anywhere other than last. Yeah. I mean, they've always been pretty horrific, but this is a good team. These guys can play. Jalen Coleman-Lands, man, that kid can play. He went to high school right around here. Dave Lato can coach. That team's on the come, and I would say right now, if just watching them, they're an upper half of the Big East team, but then you got to tell me what 5 teams in the Big East are going to fall in behind them, because everybody is a little bit better this year.
So what is a dark horse team for you? I mean, if there's anything going into later on this year into tournament time, what is somebody, a team or a coach in particular that you see coaching very well to start off the season and may possibly hit a nice little run that catapults them into selection?
I think it's hard to pick against DePaul in that realm, as far as a team that looks like it's ready to kind of outkick its reputation. They're in really, really good shape. If they can play anything like the team that showed up the other night in Iowa City, they've got a hell of a chance to win double-digit games in the Big East, go to the NCAA tournament, and win a couple of games there. And I think that'd be terrific, not just because you guys are a Chicago area show, but I think the NCAA tournament, and I think college basketball in general, is a lot more fun to watch when DePaul is really good, and it's been a while since that's happened.
So, go ahead.
Well, DePaul, Notre Dame, some of these teams right here in the Midwest, even the Fighting Illini, not reaching the Final Four for a number of years. What do you think, though, Ken, about, say, UCLA or even USC? After the last couple of years where Arizona's been kind of dominating out in the Pac-10, those teams have been making some progress.
Yeah, the Pac-12 I don't pay a lot of attention to. I gotta be honest. They all beat the hell out of each other.
And too late at night?
Nobody really establishes themselves as part of that national conversation. You see Oregon flash every once in a while. Andy Enfield's the coach at USC. I don't know exactly how he's going about his business and recruiting out there, but they're getting a level of talent that maybe the reputation of USC as an institution and as a basketball program doesn't merit. UCLA, I just think it's impossible to win there because they don't have the resources to be able to put together the kind of team and the kind of program that's necessary in order to win either in the Pac-12 or nationally. It's been over 10 years. I think it was 2009, the last of the years that UCLA went to the Final Four in a row under Ben Howland, and they really haven't done too much since, despite the fact they had tremendous talent. We got guys on the Indiana Pacers, whether it's T.J. Leaf or Aaron Holiday or he got cut, so we aren't even going to mention him, but we got a couple of guys from UCLA's team a few years ago. And so they've had talent. They just haven't been able to put it together.
So what I hear is, and this is before we move on to the, I guess, sport of sports for basketball, it's the NBA. What I want to see is anybody out there listening, you heard it here first, Ken Sterling is a Demon fan. Anyways, that's what I heard.
And before we go to the pros too, Ken, let's get a little update. We've talked about DePaul and maybe Notre Dame and maybe the Illini, some of these schools in the middle here. There's always that team up at Michigan State with Izzo, and when you have Tom Izzo, you're going to win sometimes, right?
Absolutely, and they're going to be really good. They had the injury that's going to cost them, and they had the death. The kid's brother stepped in front of a train, and he played really well that night. Michigan State's always going to be in the conversation. Tom Izzo, one of the best coaches in the country.
Right.
He's always got talent that he knows how to utilize well. Notre Dame, I'm hoping that they bounce back this year. I think they will. Mike Bray is one of the best coaches in the country. And Brad Underwood down at Illinois can flat out, he can absolutely coach. You give him enough talent, and he's going to beat you. And as far as DePaul, hey, I cannot tell you the number of times I went to the Blue Demon Room to watch DePaul women's basketball on the campus at the old alumni gym and drank Special Export Light. Absolutely delicious and a wonderful and cheap, by the way to spend an evening down in Lincoln Park.
Doug Bruno really, really has a fine program. It's been there for years and years and years. And being from the MAC myself at Northern Illinois, we had Jane Albright there, Jane Albright Italy, who also coached up with Pat Summitt over at Tennessee. And she and Doug Bruno used to go at it all the time. I want to hit you with one more and more local to you in Indianapolis, Ken. How's Ball State looking this year in Miami?
Ball State is not going to be so good. I think they got a terrific coach, and he keeps doing exactly the right thing in how he recruits this area. I think Indiana, Purdue, Butler, they go through this metropolitan area in Indianapolis and kind of pluck the 5-star and 4-star kids. And then Ball State comes in behind them and sort of takes the guys who fit that system real well and plug them in with the Cardinals. It just hadn't really borne fruit yet. But I love the way things are being run at Ball State. They're just not – it just hadn't clicked for them yet. And as far as Miami of Ohio, I got to tell you, when they stopped recruiting my kid back in 2007, I said, to hell with Miami of Ohio. I got nothing to do with these people.
Wow.
So we were talking earlier, Kent. We were talking earlier about the Spartans. Now let's talk about a king that lives in the land of L.A. Let's talk a little NBA here. What is the thought behind, what are the thoughts behind a team like the Lakers, AD and Anthony Davis, rather, for anybody else that doesn't know who AD is? AD and the King, LeBron James, teaming up together in L.A., and not the other side of L.A. where apparently King Kawhi is running that Clippers team like a well-oiled machine right now. But what are the thoughts about them going to an 8-2 start in L.A. For the Lakers? And where do you see them going? Is there a fall-off or what's happening?
That's a great question. I think it all depends on LeBron and his health. The guy's played more minutes than anybody has any reason to expect a guy to play over the course of his career. He and Anthony Davis in sync already. LeBron's leading the NBA in assists at 11 a game. He's scoring 18. That's a nice sweet spot for him. I'm not surprised that they're playing the way that they are. They've got 2 of the best 5 players in the NBA, and that counts for something. I do think that when they play the more elite teams out west, whether it's the Clippers, whether it's the Nuggets, whether it's the Jazz, if they have to play those teams in a 7-game series, I'm not sure LA is going to come out on top in those. I think it's going to wind up being Denver and Utah. Actually, I think it's going to be a nightmare for Adam Silver and the TV executives because there aren't a lot of guys who understand what Denver is or what Utah is. But, man, those are 2 really functional basketball teams who are going to be able to win at a high level. And you talk about Utah, man. Utah, the way that they picked up Michael Conley. Conley is a guy who, if he can stay healthy, now he's 32 years old, that's a team that can raise all kinds of hell out west. But I think the West is worth the price of admission, right? You got about 5 teams out there who could wind up in the NBA Finals, and I don't think you can say that in the East.
No, not at all in the East. I have one team in the East, and tell me if I'm completely brain dead on this. I'm thinking Milwaukee out of the East, and I'm thinking Houston. Unfortunately, for those people that don't like Houston, I'm thinking the Rockets make it out of the West.
You know what? I think that we've seen over the last few years that the way the Rockets are assembled and their style of play doesn't necessarily lend itself to winding up in the NBA Finals. But Harden scoring like 38 a game, going to the line far more than anybody else in the NBA, making more foul shots, putting up more threes than anybody in the NBA. This is a dream. I mean, if you've ever been a basketball parent, you would love for your kid to be used the way James Harden is. Like, that's just a shoot it. And he does, and coaches are like, green light, go. And so that's life for James Harden.
Well, I would contest on that, Kemp, that if my kid flopped as much as James Harden, I'd say, you're ready for the NBA.
Hey, you got to go to acting school anymore, right?
Right. Hey, Ken, all the time, as we've been seeing, as the league has got their winners, whether it be Golden State, whether it be the Cavaliers once maybe.
I'm about to get sick of the can.
Or the Bulls or whatever. Everybody has 3 players. It's got to be the 3 guys, Michael, Scotty, and you had Horace Grant. Or you had, maybe 3 centers, but, there was that one player, the 3 centers. Where does LeBron and Anthony Davis, Chi-Town boy, by the way, everybody, make sure that you know that. Where does LeBron and AD go for that 3rd extra help?
That's a great question, but I don't think that anybody in the West has that 3rd wheel, right? I don't think that there's anybody that you look at in the Western Conference and say, yep, they got a solid 3. I mean, you look at Utah, you're talking about Mitchell, Conley, and then Gobert or Bogdanovich. Denver, you got Murray, Jokic, and Barton. Just like you've got Kawhi and Paul George. And by the way, Paul George, for all his fanfare and all the national media, choir of praise, the guy hadn't won a playoff series since 2014. So I don't really know what we're basing the Clippers going to the finals on. I don't know whether they're going to get out of the first round. Kawhi Leonard is magnificent and wonderful, but Paul George is a guy whose theory on competing is so corrupt that I don't think that I think he's going to wind up being a detriment to the Clippers and their hopes in April, May, and June. Then he's going to be more detriment than asset.
Well, you would know that because Indianapolis fame,
yes.
And you were right there and you got to see him. All you're making me think of is practice. What? Practice? Like we need that or we can't play anytime? Is that what we're talking about with Mr. George?
Well, he's a guy who loves the talk. And really the moment I thought, okay, this guy is not a guy, is that when he decided he was going to be PG-13, what he would do at the end of every game is he would seek out the star on the opposite team, and he would hug that guy. He'd dap that guy, and then he'd go into the locker room. And it seemed like what he was trying to build was sort of this – he was trying to join the club, right? He was trying to become a member of the fraternity, and instead of doing that through being, like Michael Jordan was, a badass that nobody wanted to play against, right, and a guy who was going to compete internally and externally,
right.
He decided he wanted to be friends with everybody, and I think that that's what he's become.
And the thing about Paul George is he did have a mean streak in him when he first started. He had it where it was he's the next guy.
He's a beast.
And now since 2014, like you said, hasn't won a playoff series since then. I think teaming up with Kawhi was the right way to do things for him because I think with a defensive presence, I believe Patrick Beverley's still with the team. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so you have a trouble starter, like a troublemaker like Patrick Beverley. Then you have Kawhi and Paul George. Now, see, the thing is, it's Kawhi's team. No matter what anybody says, it is Kawhi's team now, just like it was in Toronto last year. And I think if people know how to fall in line, tell me if I'm wrong here, if they fall in line with the way that Kawhi plays and he'll still dish out to you and create plays, I think they have a shot at going deep.
And that's him. I mean, Paul likes being Robin more than he likes being Batman. And so that works out in kind of in his favor. But, yeah, you're right. You've got Beverly. You've got Shamet. You've got Patrick Patterson. I mean, other than Kawhi and Paul, you really don't have anybody where you say, boy, oh, boy, you got Lou Williams. Maybe is your second scorer, Montrezl Harrell. I cannot believe that a team is going to win an NBA championship with Montrezl Harrell in the starting lineup. That's crazy to me.
Well, moving on to some of the other teams too. How does Portland fare up then? Portland's always that little guy right behind you somewhere.
They're the bridesmaid
that has the good team but doesn't get pushed forward. How does that work out?
And that's kind of who they are. And that's sort of what they are in the NBA too, right? I don't think that the NBA, not that there are these, I don't think that the conspiracies that are alleged against the NBA are valid, but if Portland ever got really good, that wouldn't be good for anybody. Yeah, Damian Lillard is unbelievable. C.J. McCollum's incredible. Whiteside is decent, averaging like 15 and 12 and a half. But I don't think that that's a team that's like, they're not built for the long haul. They're not built to become, a threat to the upper echelon of the Western Conference. You've got probably 5 teams that stack up really, really well against Portland. They're going to finish, I would guess, somewhere between 5th and 8th in the West. They're going to be a playoff team, but they're going to be, early round dismissal. But they are fun to watch. I mean, they play a terrific brand of basketball.
So let me ask you the last question here. We'll go end out with this. The team that doesn't seem like it's going anywhere currently, the 4-7 Bulls. They did have a good game last night, though. They beat the Knicks, I believe. It was 120 to 112.
In a 35-point fourth quarter.
Right, with 7 threes from Kobe White.
Yeah.
But what do we see? What are the good, positive takeaways we can maybe look to see this season from the Bulls?
The good thing is that they're really talented and they're really young, right? Markkanen's 22, White's 19, and Wendell Carter's 20. Zach is 24. That's a team where these guys are going to get better. And if the Bulls can keep those guys around, they've got a nucleus to build around and develop. I think in the short term, they're not very good. But I think that they knew that they weren't going to be very good. And this is,
Ouch.
I'm going to go ahead and give Gar and Pax a little bit of credit.
Really?
And say, look, they knew they weren't very good.
Okay.
So they're going to get really young. They're going to let this team kind of congeal. They've got Boylan, who's a taskmaster and who's going to get these guys to understand how to play basketball the right way and play together. And then I think they're going to jump into a different level, and Boylan, sadly, will be gone, and he's going to be replaced with a guy who can coach to win.
Hey, Ken, if you're making me feel like okay, we got this team. They might not win now. They'll win later. The Cubs did that. Yeah, they won a championship, but now they might not win again. The Sox, yeah, we got this team. They're okay, but they might not win now, but they might win later. No, I don't want that. I'm sorry. I'm a fan. I want to go get them.
Nobody trusts the process, Kent. Nobody trusts the process, so you know how to blame when they fail again. Come see Norm.
What kills me about Chicago, and I'm from Chicago. I grew up in Lake Bluff, and I worked at WMAQ radio and WGN radio downtown, and so I still keep up with it. And I watch Chicago media all the time. And you listen to Hub or you listen to Cap. You listen to these guys during the offseason, and Hub a little bit less, certainly less than Kaplan. But you listen to these guys talk about what's going to happen, like what they expected from the Bears this season was psychotic. It didn't make sense. And the people in Chicago didn't understand that Chuck Pagano was going to cause more problems with that defense than he was going to solve. And I'm speaking
absolutely
with
wow
first-hand experience with Chuck Pagano in that realm with the Indianapolis Colts. That was never going to be the same thing. You're going from Vic Fangio to Chuck. You're going from an Alfa Romeo to a 74 Pinto. So you've got the wrong guy with the wrong defense. It reminds me really of like the late '80s when Buddy left to go to Philadelphia and they hired Tobin on the back end to be the defensive coordinator. That's what the Bears have done, and they just don't understand it. And they didn't understand the flaws in Trubisky's game, and they kept projecting him as a potential MVP candidate. The optimistic, the hyper-optimistic Chicago sports media is, I think they're a huge part of the problem because they establish expectations that these teams just cannot meet.
Well, I think the Bulls have maybe turned the page just a little bit. And like you said, with the young talent going, maybe Gar deserves a little break here to get them on the right move.
And that's the thing, Kent, that I think of as we wrap up here for the half hour at the top of the hour here. I think that we are all in the same boat here, thinking that we'll give a little bit of credit where credit may be due, but we do blame the sports media for mostly screwing with the way that we do things. And maybe, hey, this guy's going to be the next MVP. Oh, wait, he only scores 12 points a game.
And that's the way it's been. And I wish that there was a history in Chicago sports media of crazy people who are like Rosenblum's a beauty, right? Like that guy is the ultimate Chicago cynic. But what has been in Chicago sports media forever and ever and ever are hyper optimistic guys who just kind of don't get the games, but understand how to titillate the audience. And thank God you guys aren't people like that. That's why I enjoy coming on your show.
Well, and I appreciate you, regardless, and I'm not going to mention my other show where I interviewed you yet, but I will say that I appreciate you coming on in 98.3.
Thank you very much, Ken. I appreciate it. Very
pleasure.
Nice to meet you.
Hey, Kent, you have a good day. Again, this has been Kent Sterling, CBS Sports anchor from Indianapolis. Thank you, Kent.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so I am Pat. This is Norm. This is 98.3 FM, WRLR. You're listening to the Golden Sports Show every Wednesday from 2 to 4 p.m. We'll be back at the top of the hour to discuss NFL.
Cornicchione's New York-style pizzeria in Antioch at Routes 83 and 173 is another proud sponsor of WRLR Sports. Cornicchione's pizza dough is made from scratch using a family recipe that originated in Brooklyn, New York. Their dough is proofed at least 24 hours. Cornicchione's menu includes pizzas, calzones, pasta, much more. They have dine-in, carry-out, and delivery. Their number is 224-308-1499.
Over there's the water. Whoosh, whoosh. beach. And look at all this stuff I'm standing on. It's called sand, and it's everywhere.
This woman may sound silly to you and me.
It's made up of little tiny pieces of rocks. Teeny little pieces of rocks.
But to her 2-year-old son exploring the world around him, she makes perfect sense.
How does it feel when you touch the sand? Is it warm?
Uh-huh.
It's hard to hold in your hand, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Learning starts long before school does, and children are naturally curious. They want to learn, so follow their lead. Take simple, everyday moments like sorting laundry or playing on the beach and turn them into learning moments.
Is this water?
No.
Very good. This is sand. Oh, no, it's not food. It's sand. We don't eat sand.
Turn everyday moments into learning moments. Find out how at bornlearning.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Today's sports broadcast is made possible by O'Keefe, Lewis, and Bruno PC. Proud to sponsor another season of Lake County High School sports broadcasts on WRLR 98.3 FM. Helping home buyers, sellers, and others with real estate transactions. O'Keefe, Lewis, and Bruno PC can be reached 847-675-4790.
Hi, I'm Frank Tarzeski, inviting you to listen to Music Matters every Friday from 1 to 4 p.m. right here on WRLR 98.3 on your FM dial. I play polkas, I play country, I play crazy songs, I play requests and jazz. That's Music Matters 1 to 4 p.m. right here on WRLR 98.3.
Having trouble moving the ball to finish your divorce or paternity matter? Child support or maintenance payments causing trouble with your salary cap? Sue Kamen is an experienced family law attorney who can coach you through mediation or fire a pass into the end zone at trial. To make an appointment in Antioch, Huntley, or Lake Zurich with Susan E. Kamen and Associates, their number is 847-847-7354.
You're listening to 98.3 FM, WRLR LP, Round Lake, Illinois.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's Pat and Norm here, 98.3 FM.
Yeah, what a great day so far. Great guest, and Ken from Indianapolis. What?
Yeah, Ken Sterling from CBS Sports Indianapolis.
Boy, he knows what he's talking about, doesn't he?
That's exactly why I had him on.
I love talking about all the sides of basketball there.
And of course, you're listening. This is the top of the hour here. It is 3 p.m. Central Standard Time here in Lake County. Guys, you are listening to the Golden Sports Show. Again, like I said, I'm Pat. This is Norm.
First time on the air as the Golden Sports Show. Hope you're enjoying it. I'm sure happy to be here, and I know Pat is. He's got this grin from ear to ear, bringing you all the best from the train station right here in Round Lake Beach. We are the only radio station inside a train station. We are